At that time, around the age of 50, the company was going under restructuring. I was laying off a lot of people. The stress was getting to me, so I decided to leave the company. My most stressful day is not nearly as stressful as working in New York City in fashion.
We were sitting there and I have a client that's buying several properties and I've already reached out between text and phone calls to one agent 5 times and just zero response.
I find a lot of younger people in business and somewhat in real estate, they don't listen enough. They want to talk a lot. And I think that the client feels like they're not being heard.
If you would listen so much more than you talked, you would be so much further in your career right now.
You have to be able to use that skill in order to better communicate.
From closing deals to opening minds, this is the Mr. D podcast. I'm Omar Andreasen, and we're about to get real about real estate, success, and the grit that it takes to build your best life. Let's dive on in.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Mr. Deed podcast show. My name is Omar Andreasen, aka Mr. Deed, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you Mr. Bill Melnick to our show. Bill is actually a luxury real estate agent in Connecticut, Litchfield Hills, and he actually reinvented himself after 28 years as a Ralph Lauren Chief Merchandising Officer, building a $144 million career and closing the county's record-breaking 12 million Ivan Lendl estate sale. Bill
Lendl.
Lendl. Yeah, Lendl. I'm so
Yes.
bad at that. What? Thank you for catching me. Ivan Lendl, guys, estate sale. Look, I mess up. I mess up from time to time
That's
too.
okay. That's
Thanks,
okay.
Bill. Dude, Ralph Lauren, chief merchandising. You sure? Are you sure you weren't a model for them as well at one
Oh,
time?
well,
I mean,
that's
you're,
very
you're a very handsome looking man. And
nice.
I'm sure your husband tells you that all the time, right?
Not enough. So
So,
you're all the way in Florida. I'm all the way up north in Connecticut. We just endured a horrific winter. So today's one of the first nice days. So I have a
well, I
little
mean, we've been
kick in
through a
my
bad
step.
we went through a bad winter too, like the 3 days. We had a really bad freeze here.
Hmm.
And I know you're probably like, Omar, shut the hell up. It's
No, like I hear a
like
thousand tiny violins playing for you.
exactly, exactly. I mean, yeah, so many people should feel sorry for us, right? And I remember, so my father-in-law, he has a house here too, and he lives up in Cape May, New Jersey, and he's like, he just planted all these flowers and whatnot in his brand new house, and then he looks, he goes, he was so pissed. He's like, it's all dead now. I'm like, "Oh, all you gotta do is replant them. I mean, that was very, very rare that it got cold for 2 days here in Florida.
I bet, and I bet when you go there, you're probably interested in the real estate in Cape May. You take a look. There's Victorian houses are so
Oh,
amazing.
they're gorgeous, man, absolutely gorgeous, but so expensive to upkeep.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because how old they are and it's a pain because then if you want to do anything, you have to go through the historical society and it's definitely a different kind of real estate out, but it's gorgeous. I mean,
It is.
it's breathtaking.
So to that point, my house in Connecticut is the oldest house in Sharon, Connecticut, built in 1739.
What? That is all. Okay, so is there any kind of history to the house? Like anybody that you know that lived
Nothing that would
there?
be as that fascinating. I mean, the name's named after the family who lived here. It was probably moved at some point. Across the street, there's a bigger house where the family moved when they got more money, and there's a barn that's been converted also next door. That's a separate property. So that's about it.
That's really neat. So what drawed you to buy that property?
Well, I like my customers now lived in New York City and needed a place to escape. So I had a place in Fire Island. At the same time, I had the apartment in New York while I was working at Ralph Lauren. And Fire Island kind of it shuts down for the summer, and we wanted something that was less seasonal, something where we can come all year round. So I had never been here before. 2 hours from the city, I'd been to a lot of the other weekend locations, whether it be on Long Island, upstate New York, Westchester County, and so forth. And the weekend we came here, we bought a house the same weekend because I didn't know anything like this existed
Hmm.
2 hours outside of New York because it's absolutely pristine. So thanks to land trust, land conservation, and great zoning, it's a beautiful area.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So one day I think we'll pull the trigger and buy something in a Cape May, or is it something with historical value? Just because I'm a huge, when it comes to history, that's something that just I love. I love history, especially when it comes history and real estate tied together. So it's
Yeah.
by far one of my favorite things.
Oh, good. It's a great
So
place for you to be. I know a good real estate agent for you.
so do I now. Yeah. Guys, if you're moving up north, either to Connecticut or New York or anything up the north, Bill Melnick. Okay, we'll have his contact details too at the end. So,
Okay.
Bill, tell me what was this all? I mean, 28 years, right, with Ralph Lauren, and then you just decide to say, you woke up one morning and said, "The hell with this! I'm done with fashion industry. I'm done. I'm just gonna go out and I hear all these exciting things about real estate. It has to be easy. So let me just jump into that."
All right, so that was not the trajectory at all. So, I had been at the career, fashion was changing and the company was changing, and I'd been there for a long period of time, and it was a fantastic experience. I have absolutely no regrets. But I was getting at that time around the age of 50, and the company was going under restructuring. I was laying off a lot of people, and the stress was getting to me, so I decided to leave the company. And during that period, I had a year when I couldn't work, so I had a non-compete. So during that year, I was spending a lot of time at my second home up here, which I started to enjoy. So I took some time off, and then I started to think, hey, what can I do up here that, could keep me occupied and interested and, make a little money? And real estate was the natural choice. Actually, really not the natural choice because I didn't really think much of real estate agents up until then, coming from New York City. And, you just, it was a very bottom feeder mentality to me amongst real estate agents. But I found a great company to work for, which is a boutique firm up here in Litchfield County, at least Harney Real Estate. And, you know, a, they had a great team, or they do have a great team. I found uncharacteristically a lot of camaraderie in our office, and I decided to give it a shot.
That's awesome. I love how you said you were dealing with so much stress at your job. Do you not feel that you get any kind of stress or pressure and I don't know, maybe the same or different kind of stress or pressure in your job now?
We definitely have stress in my job now, but my most stressful day is not nearly as stressful as working in New York City in fashion
Wow.
for that period of time. So, you're kind of your own boss here. So, you know, it's way different. I
Hmm.
don't have 40 people that are direct reports. Um,
Hmm.
you know, it's different when you don't have that kind of responsibility.
Yeah, no, I definitely would agree with that. And I love how you said about the real estate agents. You didn't think much of real estate agents. Well, what do you think about them now that you actually work with them so closely? Has your viewpoint changed, or has it even got even bigger? Say, God, some of these guys are just idiots. How in the hell are they doing this?
Well, there's a lot of real estate agents, but there's very few successful ones. And there's a common thread among the successful ones. They work really hard. They show up because you find so many people really have a difficult time showing up and being prompt and having the feeling of attention to urgency that that I had in my previous career. So those kind of realizations and skill sets really transferred well into real estate. To be able to manage up and to manage down and side to side. These are all skill sets that are great for real estate.
Yeah, you hit every nail on the head, man, and that was huge. Like showing up. We were sitting there, and I have a client that's buying several properties, and I've already reached out between text and phone calls to one agent 5 times and just zero response. I mean, and I started like on a Tuesday. Hey, listen, I know they live there, the seller, so I'm trying to be courteous. So I'm reaching out to you early, even though the showing's not till Saturday. That that my buyer's agent is going to show them. But can you please, and then finally just get back to me today.
Absolutely. And coming from New
Yeah.
York and our customers mainly being from New York City, looking for second homes, and they worked in New York and I worked in New York, and this is my second home. They're looking for a second home, the same experiences of commuting up here on weekends. All of that commonality with my clients, it's all good stuff, and they appreciate that. I think more from me than other people that may have grown up here their whole lives or don't have
Mm,
that sort of experience.
yeah, agreed. So, how did your corporate experience in design and presentation influence you on how you built your brand from the ground up when you went into this new business of yours?
Well, I was unique in the business world and the fashion where I got experience both in the business side of it, and that's where, that was my training in business.
Mm,
But in addition to that, I got a complete creative side as well because half of my staff were designers and creative people. So getting my head around both of those skill sets and working with some of the most talented people in the industry really gave me a good base to get into real estate. So, and on the creative side, I had the whole presentation thing. I got to know what a luxury customer was and what was important to them. And then from a business side, I got to know how to run a business. So as a real estate agent, you're running your own business, and you're managing all of that, and bringing those two worlds together is super useful in doing real estate.
that's awesome. So, merchandising the house. So, now kind of merging your first profession now with your second. So, how do you apply that high level design principles to position a property for a premium sale in today's market?
Well, the thing about luxury is that you're kind of in my old job as well as now is that it's aspirational, but it's also about value. So, when you're designing and marketing $3,000 cashmere sweaters, it's all about quality. What is the perceived value? How much someone will pay for it? Um, all of those kinds of things also directly correspond to real estate, and it's the same customer. So, you know, people all often think that luxury, is it's willy-nilly the assigned value to it, and it's really not. The
Mm,
luxury customer is very specific, and what they find value in um, is very similar in both industries. So um, it's really having the best quality, um, and also as it relates, sorry, to value.
okay. Love that you really went into that. Now, look, you talked about, you have your city life and then you have your life away from the city.
Mhm.
What is the biggest culture shock your urban clients face when moving from city life to Litchfield County, for example?
Well, like I said, most of them are just doing this part-time. So it's a vacation house or weekend house for them. So that it's not a culture shock full time. But what they're looking for is they're looking for privacy. They're looking for relief from the traffic. They're looking for countryside, things to do outside, to be able to relax. And a lot of people in New York City specifically go to the Hamptons, which has become very crowded. The traffic getting out there is untenable sometimes. I mean, often you're sitting on the Long Island Expressway for 2 hours, and it
Mm,
makes your commute out there up to 4 hours long. We don't have that up here, so it's pristine, um, and it is not that kind of stress getting there or being here. I mean, the Hamptons has become performative for a lack of better term. People are acting like they're going to relax for a weekend in the country, but it's very social, it's very crowded, and it's not really like being in a relaxing country place. Up here is the real deal.
Yeah, so it makes it sound like the Hamptons, like you go up there and it's pretty much like you have to be a host or a hostess at all times.
It is, and it would help if you had a helicopter landing pad in your backyard because even when you get there, the commute around town is difficult because of the traffic. So not relaxing. And I think that people definitely get tired of that.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So let's talk about now. I want to talk about your negotiation with some foresight. How does your corporate business background change your approach when it comes to high stakes negotiations compared to, I guess, like traditional agents, the way a luxury agent like yourself looks at it compared to maybe like a traditional agent would?
Yeah. So I think that you need to listen to your clients, okay? And you also need to be thoughtful in what you're saying and also in what you're not saying. So, you're in for it for the long haul with your client. Typically it's not one weekend, but sometimes it is. So you have to listen to what they're saying and not react right away. Take your experience with them in aggregate and then follow up and respond accordingly.
Love
So I,
that.
I I find a lot of younger people in business and somewhat in real estate, they don't listen enough. They want to talk a lot. And I think that the client feels like they're not being heard. So that's one of the biggest things. Like you have to listen. So that's whether in what it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, you have to be able to use that skill in order to better communicate.
Man, you just said a lot in a little short skip there because what you said is gold. And we have some agents on our team that will sit there and as we're talking, if I'm in a meeting, they just boom, just blurt out, I'm like, hey, stop, I'm getting there. And there's one in particular, I'm like, you know what? If you would listen so much more than you talked, you would be so much further in your career right now because it's extremely rude.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't know what I'm gonna say, and you're trying to finish my sentences before I even finish. But you know what? You're not even finishing my sentences because it's not what I'm gonna say. But even if it was, it's still rude.
Yes, that I agree with that. But listen, I think that real estate is best suited for people who've had some life experiences, maybe even in other industry, and also have some money saved to get into. So I feel like that's a second act for a lot of people because they're not as, constrained with having to like put food on the table and
Mhm.
start out in real estate at the same time. And as you know, it's sometimes it takes a little time before you get some sales behind you and you're able to accumulate a little bit of, you know, wealth from it. So if you can have a different job for a part of your life and then get into this later, I think that's really the best scenario. Not to say that someone in their 20s couldn't get right into real estate, they just had to prepare for it and sometimes have a second job.
Yeah, no, those are all. I mean, I had a second job the whole time I got into it, and I worked many hours, but it was one of those things that I really wanted to do. So it was, I knew what had to be sacrificed at the time. So
Yeah.
no, you are
Now
correct.
in Litchfield County, I think there was about 3,000, and this is a small place. I think that in total there are about 3,000 agents that did transactions in the county, but there's really like 10 that do, 90% of the business.
Hmm.
So, you know, that's the kind of thing that you need to consider when you're getting into business. It's going to take a few years to get traction. You should listen a lot, run with the winners. Um, you know, find an organization that's appropriate for you and people that you can learn from.
Yep, no, 100% agreed. So in Litchfield County, it sounds like it's a county with some older homes in the area. How do you help clients that want to buy in Litchfield County, and then you kind of help them differentiate between a money pit and a property with genuine architectural upside?
Yeah, sure. So sometimes it's both. Um, so yeah, when New Yorkers come, they typically want something way off the road, up a long driveway, and an antique, like a colonial antique
Hmm.
or something like that. And that doesn't really exist because when the antiques were built, they were built very close to the road. So you have to educate them on that right away. And then it's just knowing the market and knowing what the upside is. So if I sell you something for 1 million and you need to put 1 million into it, but at the end you can sell it for 2.5, there's upside to that and it would be worth pursuing. So you need to educate the customer on that and know how much things cost and, help them connect with people to prove it, whether it be contractors or architects or whatever. But, I find a lot of people who are younger than me and successful, so say in their 30s and 40s, and maybe both parents are successful, like one's a doctor or one's a lawyer and one's in finance in New York City, that generation wants things turnkey. They want to be able to move right in. They want, it already to have style.
Mhm.
They want it, to be completely tuned up before they get here. And typically they have two kids. They live in Brooklyn and they don't really have time to make it their own. So they want to buy something that's ready. Also our market is filled with people who move into the area, either one parent or both, from New York City because of the prep schools. So we have Hotchkiss right in our backyard here, which is um, the number one um, boarding school in the country right now. We also have Salisbury School, Berkshire School, Indian Mountain School, Kent School. There are all these, there's probably 15 boarding schools around us, all these quintessential Ivy covered, institutions that you would see on TV. This is the place where they're located. So that group of people also, they want something that they can immediately move their kids into.
Okay, awesome. Um, Conservation and community value. I know that's very big to you. So,
Mhm.
as a land trust board member, how do you
Mhm.
balance residential development with the need for conservation?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So, um, we often our board of directors is very aware of affordable housing as well. So, and there's another committee of affordable housing in our town, which we confer with. Often, as a real estate agent, if I see something that's appropriate for affordable housing, to be converted, I call them. I think that the people who run our organization, the Sharon Land Trust, are working in concert with that group as well. So not every piece of land should be affordable housing, and not every piece of land should be conserved.
Mm,
But that is a very smart question because it is a friction that's happening all across the country.
yeah, 100%. Two more questions. Being someone who went from the professional fashion industry over to a rogue industry per se, what is the most important advice for an individual looking to do the same transition from a corporate career into a top tier producer such as yourself? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I think that you have to be confident in your skill set and experience in the business world um, applies to real estate, and then just think about how you're going to use it. I think you need to be patient. I need to think that your communication style needs to be clear. I don't think you need to over talk things and try to express or brag that you used to be part of this way bigger organization or industry. I think that you just need to absorb everything from the group of people, or hopefully the winners that you've chosen to be in real estate with. So you would combine what you're learning with them or from them with all of your vast experience that you've accumulated through working in business. And there's direct correlation to both. So whether it be, like I said, the communication skills, the business acumen, the business math, um, negotiating, all of that, how you manage up and down and sideways, all of it applies to real estate. So just feel confident in that.
Yep. Last question. And this one here, I mean, you gave us a lot of great advice, a lot of great nuggets throughout. So if you could leave just one D behind one action mindset or even a lesson, maybe when you combine both of your careers together, something that you would have done differently to share with the listeners today, what would that be?
Huh. I probably wouldn't have, it was in the back of my mind. I wanted to do real estate possibly. And, I was putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, think there might be something different or better that was coming along, but I should have trusted my instincts and acted on it quicker. Um, so it was time for me to graduate from that life, and I was hanging on to it a little too much. So I wish that I had, just taken the steps to make the process happen a little more quickly.
I think that's great advice because I think what it is, and especially I see this in a lot of agents that try to be part-time. They can never truly be a true real estate agent full-time because they get so comfortable with whatever job it is. And a majority of them are servers, bartenders, when they first start, and they're so comfortable with their money that they're afraid to make that jump to the other side
Yeah.
instead
And
of
like you
trusting their
said, maybe
gut.
they have to do both for a while, but
Yeah.
it's very frustrating, I'm sure, for young people because it's not the kind of thing you can only kind of do.
Mm-mm.
And at the same time, it takes a while to build up the experience to make the money. So it's a balancing act. I understand that. But there is tremendous opportunity to make some money.
Bill, I know who I'm calling when if we need to buy a house up north. So
All right.
definitely, I
Well,
mean, the very polished, you sound like a professional, which is nice. You actually listen, which is even better.
thank you for that.
So yeah, so thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us today on the podcast. So we really appreciate having you on the show
That's
today.
great. Omar, thank you so much. And maybe I'll see you this summer in Cape May.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, that's it. I'll be there either June or July. Me and the wife need to decide what day. We usually go down July, so we'll spend our 4th of July down there. So now I have to see. Are we going in June? We're going in July. So it's always one of those things that we always kind of make up. Sometimes we go both, but it just depends on my schedule and how busy we are. But
Right.
I'll definitely, yeah, would love to run into you in Cape May. That'll be awesome. So.
All right. Well, have a great summer.
Thank you, and you the same. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Mr. Deed podcast show. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe to our channel. We have new episodes come out every Thursday. So thank you again for listening. We will also have Bill's contact details down below in the notes. So if you guys are looking to make a move up north, and maybe you just want some advice, maybe you come from the fashion industry and you're looking to make a jump to real estate, think, Bill, I'm sure you wouldn't mind sharing some insights with him, would you?
Absolutely.
There you go. So, guys, thank you so much for listening and have a blessed one. Take care.
This is Omar Andreasen signing off and reminding you that success in real estate and in life is built one deed at a time. Until next time, keep it real, stay sharp, and don't forget to give life a big whammo and keep moving forward.